Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining me this Thursday to talk about our 3-week lead time on select SoundSeal acoustical wall panels. Just to go over a little bit at first, the different types of panels we are offering the 3-week lead time on, so you can get an idea for that. All options are not available. Some are just too either labor intensive or the materials are not readily available enough to provide this shortened lead time on. So beginning with the available panel types that we have our standard S2000 acoustical wall panel. Everybody is familiar with this panel. Your typical absorber size is up to 4 foot by 10 foot and 1/2 inch up to 4 inch thick. We can offer 5 foot wide on 1 inch thick panels only. A good idea of where these panels would be used is in churches, libraries, offices, especially new open concept offices where sound control is important, conference rooms, things like that, anywhere where your typical sound absorption is needed for speech intelligibility and to make the space a little bit more comfortable to be in. The next panel we can offer on the 3-week lead time is our S2100 high impact acoustical wall panel. Standard core as the S2000 with an added 1/8 inch high impact facing. Sizes available 4 foot by 10 foot. Unfortunately, we cannot do the 5 foot wide in this product as the 1/8 inch only comes in 48 inch wide. But we can provide this on the 1/2 inch fiberglass. This is up to 2 inch. We have done them in the 3 inch and the 4 inch as well. It's just typically not called for. These are for any environment where they could be subject to high abuse. Gyms, auditoriums like this where people will be walking past these panels every day, just to give them a little bit extra protection on the surface from getting banged up and such. Your standard kind of offering for those types of environment. The S2500 sound blocking wall panels, some people may not be familiar with these. Basically, this is a 1 pound mass loaded vinyl sandwiched in between 2 layers of fiberglass. Typically, we cap these off at 1 1/8 inch with a 1/2 inch fiberglass on each side, or a 2 1/8 inch with 1 inch fiberglass on each side of that mass loaded vinyl. These panels get very heavy, so trying to offer 3 inch and 4 inch thick, the weight of the material is just too high. This is the only fabric panel on the market that you can get both high NRC and STC ratings. So, any type of space where you need to stop sound transference with this panel, this is where you would use these. Things, conference rooms discussing sensitive information, skiff rooms, things like that, anywhere, where sound blocking would be important. Even offices sometimes where the construction of the rooms were just so bad that sound's just going through the walls and people are having a hard time. You could use these on that. This product is meant, though, to cover the entire area to really block that sound. If you only do a few panels on the wall, you're not going to get the benefit of that mass-loaded vinyl. It needs to be continuous, top to bottom, side to side, for this panel to really work. Our S3100 tackable acoustical wall panel is basically non-acoustic. The NRC ratings on it are very, very low. This is more used for tack boards, think cubicles in between desks and perhaps a compartment up above. This would be a great place to use that. The schools will use them in conjunction with regular panels to mimic the look, but where they could tack up pictures or notices, things like that, where you just don't need the acoustical value, but you want something that looks nice and goes with the rest of the panels in the space. You could use that here. We offer this in 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch. Some finishes may require the 1/8 inch high impact facing to be added to the surface. What this does is it helps adhere tricky fabrics, think Carnegie, things like that, helps adhere that finish to the surface a little bit better since the MyCore surface is so much different than the fiberglass. Here's an example again, you know, anywhere you want to just tack up some simple items, but have it look very nice. If you were to do this on a standard S2000 or S2100 high impact panel, you know, as soon as you put that piece on that panel right there, you've rendered that non-acoustical in that area. So you wouldn't want to waste those types of panels in doing something like this. Our Chroma Paintable acoustical wall panel is also in the 3-week lead time offering, provided that it is in the natural white finish only. Unfortunately, we cannot factory paint these panels in the 3-week lead time, but we can provide your customer with them to paint them in the field. These sizes as well, again, 4 foot to 10 foot in 1/2 inch up to 4 inch thick. We can put the 1/8 inch high impact facing on these panels to meet certain specs, although it is not needed. Some other companies do provide a similar type of panel where they have to put the 1/8 inch on there. We do not. Our hardened edge is good enough to maintain the integrity and the quality of the panel without having to use that 1/8 inch high impact facing. So it does save on cost to do ours in lieu of their panels. But if we do need to meet the specs and we can't get that altered, we're happy to add that facing for you. Here's a great example of a project we did with this. The standard white blends in very well with, you know, your typical just painted white drywall. If they don't want anything to pop, if it's just something for sound control, they want it in the background, they don't want to notice these, this would be a good option. If they want them painted though, again, for 3 weeks, we cannot do that, but we can get them on site in time for them to paint them in the field. We do provide quite a few different specialty shapes. I'm not sure if everybody listening is aware of that. We do cut our fiberglass and MyCore with a CNC, so we can program them to do hexagons, specialty shapes, triangles, diamonds, parallelograms, things like that, and then fabric wrap those. Pretty much any of our S2000, S3100, S2100 panels can be used like this. Pick your finish and your specialty shape, and we can provide that for you. This is a very design-heavy item to really focus on aesthetics as well as noise control. The 3100 panel is actually what you see in that sort of scale shape, the peachy and neutral tone panels. That was done in a MyCore. They wanted a design feature. Acoustics were not the prime use for the panels, so we did create those in a MyCore. The picture to the right is more of an auditorium space, so those were done with our S2000 panels. And then the colors they chose. It's a very neat layout for somebody who's looking for just a little bit more than your standard squares and triangles, or I'm sorry, squares and rectangles. Different edge details and mounting methods that we can provide on these panels. Those would include your standard square edge, beveled edges, radius edges, and mitered edges. You know, people who don't have a huge budget to blow on $30, $40 a yard fabrics to make a panel look interesting, you'd be amazed at how more custom a panel looks if you add a beveled edge to it, especially 2 inch thick. It has a really nice detail. You make it pop, you make it look a little bit more alive than your standard flat square, you know, board on a wall. And then you can, you know, tailor it a little bit more as a design aspect with keeping fabrics in line with, you know, your industry standards. The different wall panel installation options and cloud panel installation options that we can provide are your EC clips. Most people are familiar with these as a Z clip. Two-part clip system. One part of the clip is resin hardened into the back of our panel. The other clip is sent loose and installed in the field. The panel is then lifted onto the wall clip, kind of like hanging a picture. It allows the panel to be removable with very little patching of the wall after the fact. So in the instance where you know your client is going to want to move these or they're temporary, you know, this might be a good solution for them. Impaling clips and adhesive is by far the cheapest option to go with. Impaling clips are sent loose. Customer supplied adhesive is used. You want a nice, good, heavy duty construction adhesive to use with these. The impaling clip is screwed into the wall. You use the adhesive actually to then attach the panel to the wall. The impaling clips are basically there to hold that panel in place while the adhesive sets. You cannot use impaling clips without adhesive. Rotofast snap-on wall anchors and direct ceiling anchors. This is an interesting product. It's become very popular. The panels are removable with this system. It's a little bit more tricky than the EC clips, but it can be done. The orange disc you see is screwed into the back of the panel. You use a marker pin then to mark where you want that on the wall. You screw your mating pieces in there, and then the panel just snaps onto it. It's a very clever system, especially if you don't have any room to lift that panel on the top using Z-clips, and the client isn't interested in impaling clips and adhesive ruining the wall behind. Very good where you're using it for full coverage on ceilings or on walls. It allows for a pretty easy install. Cloud panel installation options are D-rings. We only provide those in sizes up to 4x4 for safety reasons. You would not want that panel coming down from the ceiling if anything were to fail. Rotofast cloud anchors can be used as well. Typically for cloud installations, we recommend them down the sides, the length of the panel, and then some in the middle of the panel as well, just to make sure that that panel isn't going to bow away. It's got plenty of support. The Rotofast cloud anchors can hold a tremendous amount of weight, so that isn't a concern with this product. And another option is kind of the what we started with is EC clips, resin spots, and T-grid that is field installed. Basically, we provide resin spots and long sections of T-grid that is then screwed into those spots, and then you suspend the panel from that hardware. All the 4 cloud options, all of the suspension wires and such that is used for this is all supplied by the customer. That is not something that we supply with the panels. Different fabric finishes for the acoustical wall panels. The industry standard is still the Guilford of Maine FR 701 2100, and that is the fabric that we stock here in the plant in Agawam. Again, this is subject to availability. If you have an obscure color, you know, say your customer has, you know, 100 panels that they want in 545 bronze, not a very common color to use. I cannot say that I would have that much yardage on my shelf in the plant. It may still need to be ordered, and then we are subject to Guilford's availability and lead times. If they don't have it in stock, we cannot get it. But we do typically carry multiple bolts of the more common colors. So hopefully, if you send us a project, we have that here and can run it for you. If not, we will definitely be letting you know right away that we're not going to make that 3-week lead time because of fabric availability. Other common fabric manufacturers that we do use are Carnegie Fabrics, Maharam, Design Tex, and Knoll. Those are not stocked here, and a lot of them are milled in Europe and then sent over. So we are not only at the mercy of their stock and lead times, but perhaps also overseas shipping. So if you have a project you're working on that is needed right away, please let us know that, and we can contact them to see what they have in stock, put reserves on those fabrics if necessary, or give you the appropriate lead time for those finishes. I would like to thank you for joining me this afternoon to talk about the program we're running on select panels in the 3-week lead time. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to email me or give me a call. And if you would like a copy of this webinar as well, I'd be happy to send that over to you. Thank you so much again, and we will hopefully be working on a lot of projects in the future. Thank you.